Let's get some business for this Friday morning, and joining us is our business editor Ross Greenwood. Ross, hello. Qantas has warned that airfares are on the rise as it reduces the number of aircraft flying. Trying to book a flight for my mum at the moment, it's absolutely obscene. But this is all to ensure better on-time performance, fewer cancellations and lost bags, but that could also increase the price of some airfares.
OK, so work this one out. This is a bit of a puzzle. So what happens is that Qantas at the moment we know is struggling with on-time performance, with the lost bags and also with cancelled flights. And so the answer to it is to have fewer flights. And this is Qantas announcing its profit yesterday. The underlying loss, $1.9 billion. The revenues, though, were up 54%. That's because clearly they're flying more. The real problem, though, is absenteeism. And that is, as every workplace knows, you simply can't get the people there to perform their functions if they've got COVID. Or if they're in lockdown, or if they're in isolation, whatever it might be, there has been a high level of absenteeism. It's not just Qantas reporting that. Strangely, Woolworths yesterday also was saying that it had a high level of absenteeism, especially as this latest wave of COVID had really swept around the country. But in Qantas's case, the problem was if a pilot or ground crew or whomever it might be reported that morning that they had to go into isolation, of course, that means that they had to cancel flights, which meant that there was a chance that bags were lost or indeed that there was significant disruption. But let's just go to Alan Joyce, apologising yet again for the disruption, but also the way in which it's going to be, perhaps, for the near term at least anyway.
We know how tough the pandemic has been on our people. Many of them were stood down for months, and they have done an incredible job through the restart. I sincerely thank them for what they do every day. Now that we're moving back to profit, we want to share the benefits of that recovery. Yeah,
so the airline will perform better, but still no dividends, I note, just yet, Ross, and we will pay for it eventually.
Well, you know, here's the interesting thing. So the way in which they get more reliability is to have fewer flights than what they anticipated having, despite the fact they know that lots of people want to travel. So my point to Alan Joyce yesterday, and this is, you know, a real thing, if you have fewer seats in the air, guess what happens to the price of tickets? They have to go up inevitably. That's demand. That's the supply and demand. But the way in which the airlines perform better is by basically making certain they've got enough reserve crew to be able to staff those flights. But then there's a conundrum, because where does competition sit? You know, it's more of an issue perhaps domestically than what it is with international fares. But the real issue, even for the international carriers right now, is that they've got exactly the same problems and also not enough planes in the air.
OK, so to something that directly affects our economy, Ross, China. Its economy is slowing. It has a property and banking crisis, and it now has a drought. You know, it's announced a new economic package off the back of all of that.
Yeah, when you're in trouble, if you're a big economy like China, you spend money. In this case, they're spending around $1 trillion. A trillion. Think about this. So this is about 200 billion Australian dollars. They're going to spend on infrastructure. The odd part about that is if you buy infrastructure, what do you need? You need energy. You need steel. You need the things that Australia produces for China. So peculiarly, Australia is a beneficiary as a result of the woes that China is going through now. Even though generally, if there's a lack of demand in any economy, it is not good for Australia as well. So the interesting part about this is that China clearly is worried about the housing crisis it has. We know there's been a strike of some people not wanting to pay their mortgages. There's unfinished properties that are simply not being inhabited. And so as a result, you've got a real property crisis, almost a global financial crisis type situation that hasn't really affected the rest of the world, largely because China is so insular. But as I say, it does buy our goods, and that's the key here.
Yeah, this is when, in my reporting, the expectation is that President Xi Jinping's trouble is ultimately going to come from within, not so much outside. But finally, Ross, are there any companies to look out for with their profit results?
There's one, and I'm just actually picking it up right now for you, and that is Wesfarmers, which is the owner of Bunnings, obviously of Kmart, Target as well. Now, the situation here is it's just only in the last minute or so announced its profit. Revenue's $35.6 billion, up 5%, but its net profit is down 2.9% to $2.35 billion, and also its dividend, annual dividend, $1.80 is up 2 cents. The other big one coming out today to watch out for is Ramsay Health Care, Australia's Australia's largest private healthcare provider. Now, in this particular case, it's already knocked back an $88 billion takeover bid from the private equity firm KKR. It is expected these results will be pretty strong, and indeed, it'll be curious just to watch whether there's other takeover offers in the wings for Ramsay Health Care.
All righty, Ross Greenwood, thank you.